Hello and welcome back to another Archaeo-Scope. Now this series is kind of like an inverted questions of doom, where rather than you sending me a question to try and answer to the best of my ability via video, I put a question out there via video and hopefully together in the comments and the discussion below we come up with an answer which individually we might not have considered, a sort of meta response, and we all hopefully walk away a little bit wiser for the experience. Now, today's Archaeo-Scope has been inspired by a conversation that I've been having with friends and colleagues and even Mrs. Soup over the past couple of months actually, and it's to do with I suppose the way in which archaeology is sold to the world, and more specifically it's to do with gender issues in archaeology. Now before you yawn and go away, everyone is kind of fed up of talking about gender issues in archaeology. I know an awful lot of people, men and women, who are just sick to the back teeth of talking about it. But I'm not talking about interpretive issues. I'm not talking about the way we interpret gender in the past. It's actually to do with how it is that the media, society at large, and indeed archaeologists themselves sell archaeology based on the gender of the archaeologist. Now, the most famous example of this is Lara Croft. We all know that Lara Croft gets an awful lot of stick from progressive men, but also lots of women, for initially at least just being essentially a sex symbol. Now, when she was first created as a game character, actually she was there partly so they could avoid being sued by Lucasfilm. They wanted a woman instead of a man, so they wouldn't be accused of ripping off Indiana Jones. Partly because they wanted apparently the male characters to want to protect her. It's a little bit patronising, but apparently it's true. And also partly because they wanted female characters to want to be her. Now, the limitations of polygons, and yes, the perception that at the time that their market was of a certain age and of a certain gender, led to this rather crude female form being put in front of us on, say, the PlayStation and on the PC and so on. So yes, she's famous for having big boobs. Now, now Lara Croft has since matured, as it were. She's ironically got a bit younger, but she's also got a bit more realistic. She's a more rounded human being, and in the most recent Lara Croft Tomb Raider game, in the most recent iteration, she is a much more realistic figure. At least her physicality is much more realistic, and she's much more of a relatable human being. So that's actually a bit of a win, as it were, for the portrayal of female archaeologists. But unfortunately, if you were to Google female archaeologist, just like a cursory image search, you come across, for the most part, two types of images. The first one is along the lines of Lara Croft. You have a scantily clad, stripper-like archaeologist wearing something that's an approximation of Indiana Jones's costume, and she's there to excite and please. She's there to essentially arouse the attention of usually, I suppose, men who are watching and who are looking at these images, or who see the person dressed in the costume. Essentially, it's an overtly sexualized portrayal of a female archaeologist. The second type of image that you'll see, though, is actually a desexualized female archaeologist, a very frumpy-looking, androgynous, dare I say, boring, baggy clothes, and just an uncharismatic person, uncharismatic archaeologist. And I suppose the impression that one is given just by looking is that actually there are two types of female archaeologists. There's your fun, happy, go get 'em, shoot a bear with a gun, get down and dirty, sweaty archaeologist who you'll meet in the jungle, and then there's the one who's sort of out there, who's just sort of maybe finding lithics and enjoys looking at pottery and maybe goes home and does some knitting. Now that, I don't know about you, but that for me, that's a very unsatisfactory portrayal of women in archaeology. Now actually the same goes for men, funnily enough. If you look up male archaeologists, okay, you're more likely to get a slightly broader spectrum of male archaeologists. But ultimately, you still get two main types. You get the attractive, healthy, muscly types, in particular, for example, Indiana Jones. You know, the scene on the bridge in the Temple of Doom where his shirt's ripped open and he's all sort of ready to cut the bridge. Or you get the beardy, jumpery, frumpy equivalent, as it were, the male equivalent of a frumpy archaeologist, who's really, really into his pottery and his particular take on the world. And again, it's just stereotyping archaeologists based on essentially their appearance. Now, there are a few further thoughts I'd like to introduce. First of all, the fact that actually archaeology is mainly a female profession. I believe the current statistics are around about 60 to 40%. 60% women, 40% male. And despite that, actually on TV shows and on, for example, Google image search, for the most part, you're going to see male archaeologists. Now that's an issue in its own right. But also as well, there's that element of actually archaeology itself is charismatic enough. What we're finding, the stories we're telling, don't need sexying up, in my opinion anyway. I've never met someone who walked past an archaeological site and who wasn't intrigued. I've never seen anyone, even if there's nothing actually in the ditch, they'll still stop and go, oh, what's in that ditch there? You don't have to have a scantily clad woman running past with too much makeup on, showing a bit of cleavage and being generally, dare I say, a little bit, overly interested in pleasing other people to have the archaeology appeal. The same goes for the men. You don't have to actually have the stereotype of the beardy archaeologist, he says ironically, or the adventurer, the sort of Nathan Drake type or the Indiana Jones type archaeologist, to make the archaeology attractive. It does it for itself. All we are essentially are interpreters and conduits for the past. We should be simply helping people to understand what it is we're finding. We're not necessarily here to make a name for ourselves, or hopefully we shouldn't be. And we really shouldn't be here just to be eye candy. Now, there was an accusation towards the end of Time Team's run that actually that was the way that the producers were going, that they were getting on certain female presenters just as essentially eye candy, to dumb down the content and to keep the numbers of people watching the programme buoyant. Now that did fail, unfortunately. Time Team no longer is going, and the response from the public was actually one of, well, we're not stupid, you don't have to dumb it down for us. Now, some of the accusations levelled at, for example, the female archaeologists were actually a bit unfair. They were, in fact, archaeologists, as it were. It's not just they were just eye candy, but nonetheless, the accusation was present. Now, what am I saying? Am I saying that archaeologists can't be attractive? Of course they can be attractive. I mean, look at me. No, I'm not an attractive man. But the point is, an archaeologist, of course, if they can just be attractive, but they should be attractive based on who they are. If they're just innately beautiful, yeah, go on. But we shouldn't have to, or feel the need to, sexualize ourselves in order to make archaeology attractive. And I suppose that's what's bothering me, and that's what's been bothering me, my colleagues, friends, people who aren't even archaeologists actually have been talking to me about this, and Mrs. Soup. That idea that somehow archaeology has a bit of a crisis, and the crisis is, oh, we need to sell the story, how can we do it? And we sell the story either by exaggerating our claims, or by flogging a dead horse, constantly talking about gold and silver and this kind of thing, or we do it by essentially sexualizing and tarting ourselves up, for want of a better word. You know, there are men and women out there who will do almost anything to get attention, and unfortunately I don't think archaeology needs that kind of attention. What we need actually is to keep on telling good stories about the past, keep on talking passionately about archaeology, not to sort of show a bit of leg and stroke a sexy beard and get people going, oh yes, that archaeologist is well fit. No, but I don't know. That ultimately is the point of this video. I really want to see a discussion about these issues. Now, knowing the vitriol that's out there, knowing just how much, for example, archaeologists like Mary Beard, archaeologists and historians like Mary Beard have been attacked on Twitter, and knowing just how much this can stoke up really rather, dare I say, ignorant opinions, and very loud ignorant opinions, I will be monitoring the discussion below in this video, and if people start to say stupid things, I will delete the comments. But I want to see a healthy discussion on this issue. How much do archaeologists have to sell themselves to sell the archaeology? How much should archaeologists put up with the overt sexualization of, in particular, female archaeologists in popular culture and in popular media? Sex may well sell, that is true, but actually archaeology itself is damned fine, and we don't necessarily need to have that element of archaeology, or that element of archaeologists. And should we be doing more to tackle it, to actually be a leader in terms of actually true equality, in terms of academic pursuits and academic rigour, and the idea that actually anyone can dig, anyone can interpret, everyone's welcome. Maybe we should actually be leading the way rather than allowing these popular images of in particular female archaeologists to dictate the way the world wants, the way the world sees us, but also the way that, for example, media producers think the world wants to see us, as it were. Maybe they won't feel the need to get a slightly visually distracting person on the screen if actually it's clear that the archaeology is what people are here for. I don't know. Let's see what you guys think. I really look forward to reading the discussion below. Please do comment, and as ever guys, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.